What is your Tinder horror story? We had everything sorted out for the night, but it started raining, so it all got wet and starting a fire was very difficult. A little backstory. A few years ago I was dating this girl and her father really hated me. Which was a bit odd, as most parents love me, or at least lie about it real well. He was just a huge prick and I always called him on his it. Anyways, her parents got divorced. We broke up a few months later, etc etc. Fast forward around a year later. Me and girl from Tinder were dating for a few months and things were starting to get serious. We're at the point where she wants me to meet her family. Mother, stepfather, little sister. Why not? I have no problems meeting them. Let's do it, I said. She told me how excited her stepdad was to meet me. As it turns out, we both happen to be Kansas City Chiefs fans. Well, duck me if it wasn't the same asshole father of my ex-girlfriend. I've been on quite a few Tinder dates. Most are pretty standard: dinner, drinks, occasional bang, etc. This isn't really a horror story. Just the one that sticks out as the most bizarre funny. This girl, we'd been chatting for like a week or so, hit me up around 10 PM on a Sunday night and said she'd be in my neck of the woods on her way home and wanted to see if I wanted to hang out. I did. So she comes over. And she's got a bag of Mexican food with her. So I put on an episode of Always Sunny. And she busts out a monster bean and cheese burrito and a carne asada quesadilla. She asked if I wanted any. But I had already eaten. So this, skinny, mind you, girl puts down both of these duck-eyeing things in like 10 minutes. Just destroyed like 2 pounds of food. She wipes her face off. Grabs my hand. Rubs her tits with my hands. And gets up and goes. Welp. I gotta go. You can tell your friends you at least got something out of it. Never to be seen again. I'm still in love with her. Edit. Here's a screenshot of our last words together. Full stop. Someone, F, matched me, M, while I was at work. By the time I got home I had 4 messages from her. 1. Are you always wearing a hat? 2. Does it not get really manky? 3. Seriously? Do you even have hair? 4. Oh it. You don't have cancer, do you? For your information, I don't have cancer and hadn't realized that I was wearing a hat in all my pictures. One time I messaged a girl. She didn't message me back. We talked for a couple of hours. Drank some wine. Watched a movie and we had sex. Then things went a little downhill. We laid in bed and suddenly it looked like she was about to black out, so I helped her sit right up and asked if I could help her. Get her some water and stuff. But she didn't speak a word. She just sat there with her hands in her hair for a couple of minutes and then puked all over my sheets. At this point I wanted to get her to the shower ASAP, but she was just stunned or something. I didn't know what to do. After a couple minutes I finally convinced her to get up and brought her to the shower so she could clean herself while I could clean the sheets and all that. Every 5 minutes I checked on her if she was okay, but she would just sit on the floor with the shower running and wouldn't talk. It was all very awkward. After 20 minutes or so I brought her a towel and some clothes and we sat on the edge of my bed and she told me that she was born without a womb. She cried. I calmed her down and we finally went to sleep, without a blanket or sheets. I didn't have spare ones in my student apartment. The next day I made breakfast and she went home. Weirdest date I ever had. Buddy of mine hit it off with this girl and after a few days, she invited him over to a house party. Sure, he says. What could go wrong? He shows up and is introduced to a few of her friends, all guys. As the night carries on, more and more guys show up and very few girls are actually at the party. After they start talking about how they all know this girl, they find out that she invited them all from Tinder. Every guy was there not to hook up, but to populate this chick's birthday party. Edit. Autocorrects from phone. Tinder date with a famous chef where I was taken to a dive bar, where he promptly starting talking about how famous he was. We drank and watched sports. He proceeded to tell me you're cute and this eventually went to I am going to make you bleed. He then invited one of his friends to come along. I went outside and he came up to kiss me. I was drunk. So I kissed back. Eventually he proceeded to tell me how he was being charged with battering his ex-girlfriend. But he totally didn't do it. Eventually when it came time to pay the bill, he lost his wallet. Of course. I get stuck with it. I'll pay you back. Needless to say I never got a payment. Then he leaned up against me. I thought he was trying to kiss me again. But I looked down. And he was peeing on me. In the street. Peeing. On me. I swiftly, being too inebriated to drive, went and got myself a hotel room and a hot shower. Never again. This was back when Tinder first came out and wasn't quite as known as a hookup app. We met and had a great first date. Second date was even better. Things kept going for about 2 months when she told me she went out with me originally in an attempt for a dinner with schmucks type thing where her and all her friends would bring the worst Tinder date. We both really liked each other. But I couldn't get over how we started. My Tinder nightmare began on the 8th of January 2014 when I started texting with a beautiful woman who I knew was out of my league. I'm a 50-ish Caucasian guy. Out of shape. Overweight. But otherwise stable and normal. She was a 30-year-old black woman. College educated. Stunningly beautiful and very elegant and slender. Nonetheless, after a few days of texting I invited her to join me for dinner at a very nice restaurant downtown. To my dismay she actually accepted my invitation. I was waiting for her at the bar and when she walked in my jaw hit the floor. She was so beautiful I literally lost my breath for a moment. She was taller than me in her heels and was wearing a beautiful short dress with the most amazing legs I had ever seen. She greeted me with a bright smile and a gentle hug and we were escorted to our table. We had a very good date. The conversation flowed, and she seemed to have a good time as well. We decided to continue the date and went to a couple of bars for drinks. Finally she said it was time to go home and, since she had taken Uber earlier, I offered to give her a ride home and she quickly agreed. All this time I thought that, even though the date was fun and comfortable, I assumed it would possibly lead to friendship at best considering the obvious differences. Well, when we got to her place we talked for a few minutes more. I offered to walk her to her door but she declined. She then got out and walked around to my door. She leaned through the window and planted a very brief but sensual kiss on my lips. My heart stopped. She then leaned back and smiled. I was able to stammer out an invitation to go out again and she accepted without hesitation. I was on cloud 9. I knew that this remarkable woman would have a profound effect on my life. It seemed predestined. Fast forward a couple of weeks. She and I had been seeing each other nearly every day and I was developing strong feelings already. But something was wrong. I had a weird nagging sense that she was hiding something. Although she was being very affectionate, something just felt off. Then finally it happened. We were out at a bar together. It was a good time but she seemed distracted. As we were leaving she turned to me and said, in a serious tone, "We need to talk." I thought, this is it. The differences between us are too much for her and I'm about to be friend-zoned. But nothing prepared me for what came next. She asked me to just listen and not say anything. And I agreed. She then started out by saying that she had developed strong feelings for me but there was something that I needed to know about her that might make me want to change my mind about pursuing a relationship. My mind was spinning and so many scenarios raced through my head. Is she married? Is she a criminal? Then I remembered a few days earlier when we were making out and I touched her breast lightly and realized that she had breast implants because it was quite hard. So I thought, OMG. Is she a transsexual? But, as it turns out, she wasn't, but that would have been better than what came next. She looked at me, and with a tear in her eye, she told me that she has stage 4 breast cancer. She was originally diagnosed 4 years earlier as stage 3 and had beaten it back into remission after having a double mastectomy along with radiation treatment and chemotherapy. Now it had returned as stage 4 and she was to start chemo again in 2 weeks. I was floored. She then stated that she will understand if I wanted to turn and run and she wouldn't think less of me for it. My response was to reiterate that I adored her. And I thought she was an amazing woman and if she wanted me to take this journey with her that I would be honored to do so. We kissed and just held each other for a while. Finally she said goodnight and went to her car to go home. I cried all the way home. We had a full amazing year together. I had to go to Japan for work and she met me there in between chemo treatments. She never cried and was always elegant. I learned what the true definition of grace meant. We lived a lifetime in 2014. She died 9 months ago. 15 months after we met. I am a much better man for having met her and shared in her struggle. I love you and miss you so much, Jenny. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger, as well as the words of support from all of you. Writing this down has been therapeutic and emotional. I just wish I could put into words what a truly remarkable woman she was. I don't have the vocabulary. Edit 2. Redacted. Edit 3. 8x gold. What the hell? Thank you all so much for the comments also. I've been very stoic the last 9 months. Told myself that the ending to our story was inevitable and I was prepared for it, so just look forward and not back. But telling internet strangers this little snippet of our story has caused me to do something that I've avoided for 9 months. Reminisce. Crying is indeed cleansing to the soul. Thank you all. Edit 4. 17x. Thank you all so very much, but please that's enough. In lieu of gold, please make a small donation to your favorite cancer research organization. The overwhelming positive response to my story has really brought my repressed memories of our time together flooding to the surface. Again. Thank you all and happy holidays. Edit 5, please. For duck's sake. 25x gilded. I'm very grateful, but I'm starting to understand what Trump would feel like if he were paid in Reddit gold, and I don't want to feel like Trump. Please go here and make a small contribution to a reputable cancer charity. I met this guy on Tinder and we had a couple really fun dates. I was pretty into him. So on our 3rd date, I decided I wanted to have a 6 with him. He took me out for a really nice date and then he invited me back to his place for a glass of wine. One thing led to another and we started making out on his couch. Fully clothed, but this lasted forever. I was ready to go, if you know what I mean. I didn't want to make out the whole night. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and I took off all of my clothes. Then he sits up, still fully clothed, and looks at me, and says, "I can't have a 6 with you. I have a STD." Possibly most awkward moment of my life. I tried to be super nice about it, but I promptly got dressed and left. And as many of my friends have pointed out, I am extremely grateful that he told me. Edit. He did tell me which STD. It is incurable. Got a Tinder notification on my phone. Realized I don't have Tinder and was holding my girlfriend's phone. The only Tinder date I went on. The woman told me her goal was to get pregnant in the next few months. I noped right out of there. I went on a date with a guy and the entire time he was talking about how men are superior and how there have been scientific studies to show that women have an emotional reaction to the color red when they see it. I wonder why he was single. I matched this pretty cute looking girl. She didn't look like she was in super great shape, but she didn't look obese or anything. Well, we exchanged numbers and I called her. She agreed to come over to my house, so I waited outside while she found her way over. She pulls up in a super badass car, so I'm like, hell yeah. When she gets out, it looked like her suspension let out a sigh of relief. She was at least 300 pounds. Nice girl though. She gave me a back massage, then I told her I was tired afterwards and she left. Showed up to the restaurant. Waited about 30 minutes. Ordered myself some food and was about to leave when he texted me, "There's a liquor store across the street from the restaurant. Can you pick me up 2 6-packs?" I told him I wouldn't. He says he's decided to play Frisbee with his dog instead. Deleted app. Went to liquor store. Picked up wine and went home. He texted me for a month or so after to tell me he's just bought tickets to see me dance. I'm a retired ballerina. Haven't been in anything for a few years. Then he texts me an hour after and tells me how great I was on stage. I never responded. Dating is too confusing. I'm all done. I had been talking to this girl on Tinder for a while and we decided we wanted to smash. The problem is I had asked my roommate if I could have the room later. Apparently, unlike the rest of the animals you people seem to have as roommates, so when I went to sign this girl in, we have a proctor in the lobby at my university's dorms. My roommate and several other friends of mine placed a Bluetooth speaker in my room and hid in the hallway, waiting for me to get back. I didn't see them and things started to get hot and heavy when Let's Get It On started playing from somewhere in the room. I started searching and after 5 minutes, while the song I just had 6 was finishing playing, I found the Bluetooth speaker under my roommate's bed behind his dresser. Yes, I had to move both of them. I found the power button but not before the wonderful sound of hardcore pornography filled the room. The two of us decided to call it, so we threw on some clothes. I walked her past all 6 of the bastards. I never saw her again. Tinder guy was apparently engaged when we met and while we were dating. Also found out 2 weeks after the fact that he got married. We had still been talking every day. Went on a date with a girl who had already told her whole family about me before we even met, and she wanted me to meet them in person on the first date. Nope. I matched an attractive girl and got the nudies from her. The next day I went in to start training at the restaurant I had just began working at, and learned that she was training me and a shift manager. I was 21, she was 42, literally twice my age, but she was still a hot little number at like 5'1". I thought she was trying to get me drunk to bang me. She wasn't, but we ended up banging, lol. Not just once, I went over there a few nights expecting it, lol. It was great getting a call from her like Tyler spending the night at a friend's house. I got the house to myself, or why I'm just remembering getting it on with her. Her smell, her cute lil butt entered is lol, she was fun. But then Tyler came home one time in the morning, and I woke up, and he's like, WTF dude. I never went back, dude. He clearly knew what was up, like.